For all of human history, we've seen empires rise and fall. As the saying goes, what goes up must come down. No matter how powerful a civilization has been, eventually its time has come. And almost without fail, its destruction has been because of money. So what if history was about to repeat itself? What if everything was about to come crashing down around us? And what if we're living through a massive financial shift in power that will change our world forever? For so many of us, we live in a time of great prosperity, abundance that throughout history has never been as evident as it is right now. But it does look like it might be coming to an end very soon. And if you live in the West, just like me, there is a lot of evidence supporting the fact that we might be at the end of a cycle which has repeated itself a lot throughout history. A cycle that predicts the death of an empire and the rise of a new superpower. And oftentimes it is all driven by money. So let us take a journey throughout history and see what might be on the horizon for a lot of us very soon. Before I get any further, we have an amazing newsletter of over 50,000 people that are really enjoying the reads. So if you want to find out for yourself what the buzz is all about, link in the bio. For most of civilized human history, there has always been a specific world order, nations that are powerful, whose place is at the top of the food chain. And for at least the last 500 years, there has always been one nation at the very top of that pile, a nation that in the grand scheme of things was considered to be the world's main superpower. Now you might think that being the world's most powerful nation is just a matter of dumb luck, just at the right place at the right time and things just align for yourself and voila, there you are at the top of the food chain. But here's the crazy thing. It's almost scary how accurately you can predict the rise and the fall of a superpower. And for the most part, they've always shared three pieces of the same puzzle. The first piece of the puzzle is trade. The world's main superpower has always controlled the vast majority of the world's trade. And not only that, one of the cities has always been considered the trading center of the world. For example, Amsterdam, London, or New York. The second piece of the puzzle is strength. It takes an incredibly large military to keep a nation on top, and it's something all world-leading nations have shared. But the last and most important piece is money. Whenever a country has been at the top of the world order during the last 500 years, they have been in control of most of the world's money. Its currency has been considered the reserve currency of the world, a currency that was the most trustworthy and used all over the world as the primary means of trade. Without fail, every world superpower that has existed over the last 500 years has shared these three things. But no empire ever holds the top spot forever, and every single time the balance of superpowers has changed in the world, so has the world's money. In the 13th century, the Spanish silver dollar was the world's most trusted currency when Spain was the largest superpower. But in the 16th century, that power shifted, and for the next few hundred years, it would be the Dutch who would rise to prominence. The guilder was the world's most valuable currency, and Amsterdam was a trading center of the world. Eventually, though, the British Empire would overtake the Dutch, with the British pound becoming the world's reserve currency. And of course, London became the center of the world's trade. Finally, in 1944, the final shift would take place with the United States taking the number one spot. And soon after that, New York became the financial capital of the world. And so this is how things are today. So the US has the largest economy, it has the largest military, and the US dollar is the world's reserve currency. But it doesn't look like it's going to stay this way for long, because by looking at history, we are able to see how close the US empire is to collapsing. This is Ray Dalio. He's a billionaire. And over the years, he has carefully followed the rise and fall of global markets to become incredibly wealthy. Dalio is a master of prediction, and yes, he does admit that he doesn't always get things right, but his track record is actually phenomenal. And recently, he's turned his powers of financial predictions to some evidence that might be showing us that the Western economy is very close to a complete collapse. Dalio carefully studied the 10 most powerful empires that have existed over the last 500 years, and collected data on 8 important metrics from each one. Things like innovation, education, inventiveness, share of the world's trade, military power, and the strength of their currency. By studying this data, he found it was quite easy to predict when a nation would fall, and also to show who would be the next to hold the majority of the world's power. According to Dalio's data, there are very specific things that happen during the fall of every great superpower thus far throughout history. But the important thing for us is that it seems that these things are happening again, and they are all signs that the US is currently in the financial death cycle. Signs like a growing divide between the rich and poor, as shown by massive income inequality, less innovation and invention as more industries and expertise are sent overseas. It's a nation that's seriously falling behind in education, with standards and funding dropping every single year. A massively bloated military that's costing the nation untold billions to maintain. Division and infighting between the nation's people instead of a united and harmonious society. A currency that the world is losing faith in, that isn't anywhere near as powerful as it once was. And excessive money printing due to a failing economy. Printing that's become so bad that over 40% of all US dollars that have ever existed were created just last year. Basically, all of the things that have caused the last 10 great empires to collapse are happening in the US today. And a lot of these factors have something to do with money. And when all of it aligns, this oftentimes means a great shift in history. And this is where things get a little bit uncomfortable and scary, because by using history, we are able to see how close we actually are of the Western Empire collapsing. Before I get any further though, let's thank Skillshare for sponsoring this video. For myself personally, I really do believe that financial success is almost always directly correlated to the level of skill you have within an area that is of interest to you. And so this is where Skillshare comes in. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creators. Explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity. Class topics on Skillshare include illustration, graphic design, photography, film and video, marketing, productivity, freelance and entrepreneurship, web development, and so much more. It's curated specifically for learning, meaning that there are no ads, and they're constantly adding premium classes so you can stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. Whether you're a dabbler, a pro, a hobbyist, or a master, you are a creative. Discover what you can make with classes for every skill level. Okay, so back to our story. I want to talk about how accurately we might be able to predict the financial fall of the world's current superpower. When Dalio simplified all his data from the last 500 years, this is what the last 3 major empire changes looked like. Every one of the world's superpowers ruled for around 250 years each, and when a new nation was rising to overtake them, there was always a 10 to 20 year period of transition, a period of conflict and war, when someone else took over the top spot. According to Dalio, this exact 10 to 20 year transition period might be happening right now. If you look at the right of the graph, you can see exactly where we are right now, exactly at the point of a new transition in power, where another nation will be rising to take the #1 spot. And that nation is China. And it really shouldn't be a secret that China is doing the absolute best to become the financial powerhouse of the world. China has said as much themselves, stating that they are actively trying to become the world's leading superpower by the year 2050 at the latest. And whatever they're doing, it seems to be working, which again, Ray Dalio's data clearly shows this to be true. The graph on the screen shows Dalio's 8 metrics that predict the rise and fall of nations. Things we've spoken about already, like education, military, innovation, and trade. And it's very obvious that for the last few decades, China has been on a massive upward trend, not just in a few of these metrics, but in every single one of them. So when can we expect the financial collapse of the West and for China to rise to the top? Well, it might not even happen. Just because something has happened in the past doesn't necessarily mean it will happen in the future. However, history does have a habit of repeating itself. And all of this data does show that we might be at the transition point of superpowers. And according to Ray Dalio's data, it looks like it's about 25 years away maximum, but it could actually happen a lot sooner. Now, when you hear that prediction, does it scare you? I think a lot of people would say yes, but I just think it's very important to put that fear into perspective. The world we live in today hasn't always been this way. There has always been a changing world order, and no empire has held onto its power forever. History shows that these transitions might be unavoidable, and in many cases will bring about massive change. But that doesn't mean we're powerless, especially when it comes to our own financial security. None of us may be able to control the financial decline of the West, and it does seem like this decline is inevitable, but I do think that we have the ability to control our reaction and response to the challenges that come to us, and that does come in the form of knowledge in the areas of finance. Making it a priority to learn, to study, and make note of what is happening around you, so no matter what comes to pass, you are much better prepared for it. My own financial education I've been focusing on for decades. I love this stuff because whatever the world throws at me, whatever challenges, I'm better able to navigate through those times, because the only constant in life is change. Changes are coming whether we like them or not, and they are going to completely shift the world as we know it today. And it is a beautiful thing to know that your financial security isn't completely at the mercy of things you can't control, and you do actually have a lot more power in your own hands. So many extremely wealthy people have said that they are able to lose all their money and recover because of the knowledge that they have in the brain. It's not about the wealth that they hold, it's about the knowledge that they have. So congratulations to you for putting a focus on finances and watching videos like this. So make sure you subscribe, because it means that you're just better prepared for what might come, whereas most people in the world just stick their head in the sand when it comes to finances. But finances is just a skill set. It is a formula that I've figured out for myself, and you can do that as well. And if you're on the beginning journey of learning about finances, or if you're already quite advanced but want some amazing stories that will further your education in the realm of finances, the link in the bio for the newsletter, worth it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share this around with your friends, and I will see you in the next one.